And welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and welcome to a product review. Today we are going to be having a look at this, Vallejo's metal varnish. Now I have a number of projects coming up that are going to have some metal finishes on them, so I'm interested to see whether this is in any way different to the varnish I would normally put on my metal colours, which is that. Now, they look different in the bottle, I have to say. That has a sort of an orangey yellow tint to it, and this is much whiter. But let's find out. So I primarily use 3, 4, 5 different metallic colours, but I'm actually slowly moving to 2, which is the Vallejo metal colour range and the MIG metal colour range. I do really like the AK stuff, the extreme metal. I think it's a great looking product once applied, and I do have some metallics in the Model Air. I have Humbrol metallics. I've got some Tamiya metallics as well, and the lacquer metallics. But what I've found is that, for example, this is brilliant for chucking through your airbrush. It's nice and thin, has a nice metallic finish to it. It's a great product and I love it to pieces, but most of the metal painting I do is actually detail painting. I don't do many models where I need to do lots of spray painting of metallic finishes over large surface areas. It's not very often that I do a completely metallic plane, and so I don't really need an airbrush paint. But even if I do, this goes through my airbrush really brilliantly. This is the chrome one. I've got several different colours in this range. I particularly like their burnt iron and dark burnt iron. It's absolutely lovely. But you can see this is the chrome, and you can see how chromy that looks. And why I like this is it's fairly thin, but I find this goes through my airbrush really nicely, and I love the effect that I get at the end of it. I also really like these because they're thicker than the Vallejo paints, and therefore I find them easier to brush paint these. And you'll have seen that I've used these quite a bit. I have aluminium, steel, brass, and they all come out really, really nice. So I'm sort of moving to these two. So in our little experiment today, these are the two paint systems that I'm going to use. So what I have done is I have prepared my little assistant here to help us out with understanding how good or not this product is. So what we have is we have a wing here. You can see it's divided up, as is that one, and this was primed in gloss black, and this was primed in matte black, and as you'll see there's a massive difference there. All right, it's not a massive difference, but okay. So there's not really any difference, even though that's been gloss varnished. And anyway, what we have done is prime the two wings, and then on this side, at the top, we have brush painted the MIG, and the same on this side at the top here. The bottom as you see it, but my top. So brush painted because that's what I tend to do with most of my metallic surfaces. I tend to be brush painting them. Like I say, it's detail painting in the main. So I want to see how it behaves the way I usually use it with my type of modelling. And then we've used the Vallejo chrome on these bottom sections as it faces me. And there is a subtle difference. There's more of a slightly oily yellow hue to this one, which is steel, and it's slightly brighter, as we would hopefully expect on this side, because that's chrome. So that's what we've done. What we're going to do is we're going to leave these two squares on the wingtips as our control. So we're just going to leave them. We're going to do absolutely nothing with them, and we're going to put our metal varnish on two of the panels on both wings, and we're going to do the same with the other two panels, but with my standard acrylic varnish, just to understand what the difference is. Now, if you've not used Vallejo varnishes before, they have quite a range of varnishes. These are the straight acrylic ones, but they also have ones that dry to a much harder shell, and also they have a whole range of varnishes. Like all Vallejo products, they generally need some form of thinning down, which means you get more for your money. And with this, ratio is about 50%, the same as with their paints, which makes them go twice as far, and also makes them one of the cheapest paint systems you can buy in the modelling hobby. So, not used this before. The instructions I will read to you are: shake well, water-based acrylic, fast drying, 5 minutes in brackets, apply in light coats. That's all the instructions you get. You don't get anything more on the website other than a safety data sheet which tells you to go and see a doctor if you drink it. So that's all I know about it. So we're going to work our way through this. Okay, so giving these a good shake up. So we'll start with my standard acrylic varnish. Both of them are gloss. So we've done 6 drops of that. And this is the metal varnish. Six drops of that. Don't look very different at this stage. Now, I usually thin with Vallejo thinners. You can use other thinners if you've experimented and you know what you're doing, but I like to try and keep all of my systems together. So that's what we will do. So I'm just going to try right from the start by just painting this on neat. I'm going to do about half of the panel just out of interest. And we'll do half of the panel below. And I would say the consistency is maybe slightly thicker than the normal gloss varnish. Yeah, so let's do the same on this side. And now I'm going to add some thinner and just see how it behaves. So I'll put 2 drops of thinner in there. I would say that was airbrushable now. And we'll just do, that looks very different going on. So we're not airbrushing because I tend to brush paint my varnishes onto metallic surfaces, with it being detail work. And sometimes you gloss varnishing it along with other things at the same time. But I can see once thinned, it has a slightly goldeny, slightly straw-coloured hint to it as it goes on. Anyhow, let's do the same on this side. I don't know if you can see the difference in colour as it's going on. We'll have to see what it looks like as it dries. I'm going to do exactly the same on this next set of panels, this time using our ordinary gloss varnish, and this is unthinned to start with. And interestingly, as I put that on, I get the same look that I got with the thinned metal varnish. I've got that slightly yellowy look. I don't think that'll pick up on camera, but I can certainly see it. And we'll do the same on this side. Okay, now we will thin it. And yeah, it's about airbrushable. So if I was airbrushing this, I would put another drop in, which would be about right, I think. So this is one of my favourite varnishes because it is very flexible. I don't really use it for clear coating for things like decals. I have, but I tend not to. I tend to use it as a finishing varnish. Okay, so that's our two varnishes brush painted on. I'm going to go and clean my brush now when I've finished playing with the tail, for no reason at all other than I want to. Just out of interest, let's see what happens if we put metal varnish on something that's not metal. My bet is it'll be shiny, but we'll see. So I'm just going to brush paint the thinned varnish onto that cowl. Let's just see how that comes out. Right then, let's have a look at this close up. Now, I have to say that we've got two coats on this. Let me just adjust that light because it's a bit bright. There we go. So, this is the wing that had the gloss black primer. And the wingtip is our control. So we have the Vallejo chrome paint at the bottom, which is thinner than the MIG steel paint at the top. And we have brush painted both paints, and we have brush painted both varnishes. And what I can see, this section here is the metal varnish, and this is the ordinary gloss varnish, not the polyurethane one that they do. And what I can see, it's a little bit hard to show on camera, there is definitely a difference between the unvarnished and the varnished. There is a very, very slight difference between the metal varnish and the ordinary gloss. And the difference really is just that the ordinary gloss is ever so slightly shinier. Now that's not to say this isn't gloss shining. If we look at the nose here, that is the metal gloss varnish. And on that side it's one coat, and on that side it's two coats. And you can hardly tell any difference. But I can just about in the light, and it just won't pick up on the camera. They're both glossy, they both look great, they both have a nice hard finish. Neither of them have changed the look of the original paint. This steel still has its slightly oily hue to it. Yeah, they both have done exactly what they said they would do. And there's not much between them, to be honest. the metal varnish is definitely ever so slightly duller, which I guess is more realistic for metal. It's not as high gloss, I guess is what we'd say, but there ain't much between it really. Now, if we look on this side, this was the wing that was done in the matte black, no gloss varnish. And again, this is our control, this is our metal varnish, this is our ordinary varnish. And what I would say is, there ain't really any difference. There is a slight difference to the glossiness of the metal varnish, just like on the other wing. But in terms of colour saturation, shine, well, if you can see a difference, you're better than me, because I don't see any difference there. So, my conclusion is, metal varnish might be a bit of a gimmick. If you want your metal to not be quite as glossy, just put a satin coat on it and do 2 coats if you need it a bit glossier. If you want it to be glossy, put a gloss varnish on it. I don't see that it makes much difference. So there you have it. Vallejo metal varnish, great product. Does exactly what it says on the can. It gives your metal coats a gloss varnish, but can be used on non-metal colours as well, and gives them a gloss varnish too, and it works really well, as does ordinary gloss varnish, really. Hope that was useful, helpful, informative. Take care everyone, enjoy your modelling, and I will see you very soon.